I'm Matiullah Rahmaty, a serial entrepreneur, an impact investor, and a business mentor. Today, I want to tell you 3 stories about the barriers in my life. Let's start with my early barriers in life. I was not born in a business-oriented family, nor in a family where I could discuss about starting a business. But this doesn't mean that they didn't support me along the way. I can remember during the very first 10 years of my education, I was always having extracurricular subjects in different courses and institutions. And most of the time, they were coming up with expensive fees. And honestly speaking, back those days, we were not able to afford those fees. But it couldn't stop me. My mom would always tell me that you just pick the course, I'll take care of the rest. So my mom would talk to the manager or the owner of the institution and ask for discount once she discussed about our situation and what we were going through. And most of the time, surprisingly, we were ending up with 50% or even more than 50% discount. So I could continue my education. And sometimes even that 50% was hard for us to pay. And then we were starting to borrow money from others so that we can pay at the first place to my education. So that was how I started my educational life or my studies at the very early stages of my life. Not only that it didn't discourage me, all these barriers, but also it pushed me and it motivated me to work harder than the usual person. That's why I was never the most intelligent student in my class, but one thing was clear, that no one can beat me when it came to persistency. That's how that at age 13, I started teaching English language. At age 17, I started teaching French language. And at age 18, when I was still at school, I received an offer from the cultural section of French Embassy, French Institute, to join them and work with them. That's why today my mom is one of my heroes, because she played a very important role in my early life to deal with barriers that I had. My second story is about my barriers as first-time entrepreneur in Kabul market. I remember when I first started, I needed some initial investment or capital. But since I didn't know any investor personally, or I was not part of a well-known or well-connected family, I couldn't attract any investment. That's how I started with basically nothing. I was doing a consulting job for an organization based in the UK, and then the consulting fee that I was receiving, I was using that to support my business and also at the same time to support my family. This barrier gives me one of the other important lessons. And that lesson is how to start a business basically with nothing. And that's how I could start a number of other ventures too when I didn't have enough investment or enough capital for that. And also it gave me another lesson. That's how I myself became an impact investor. And the way I can connect with the early stage entrepreneur is not simply the way everyone else can connect. Because I have a deeper connection with those entrepreneurs, because I have been there and I can understand them very well. Injustice in market opportunities in Afghanistan was the second barrier that I faced as an early stage entrepreneur. I learned that most of the business development techniques doesn't work simply in Afghanistan because of the systematic corruption. The corruption even affected the small opportunities which we were looking for small companies like mine back in 2018. But that was how I learned a golden lesson, that in countries like Afghanistan and in those kind of markets, you need one thing, and that thing is trust building. And through that, I started to build the trust in the market. And with the passage of the time, we started to attract not only good employees, but also good clients who wanted to only work with us. Now, let me tell you about my third story, about my current barriers in life. It's about the role of resources. As you know, resources play a very important role in our life. And most of you might want to become an entrepreneur too, or control their life financially, but the lack of resources doesn't let you do that. So that's the same situation, but let me tell you about one of the resources, which is one of the most important, and it can open you doors as it opened for me during the last couple of months. Let me tell you about it. As I mentioned, I'm not a first-time entrepreneur. I started earlier in my life. I built a number of ventures and invested in a number of companies. But you might follow the news. I'm originally from Afghanistan, and our government collapsed during August. Like thousands of other Afghans, I had to leave the country and leave everything behind. And I lost my country, my business, my people, my identity, and everything that I had. And I had to restart a life with an unknown path ahead. I was evacuated and brought to Abu Dhabi during October. And since then, I'm in here in a refugee camp, stuck without rights to go outside the camp to do things. So let me tell you what helped me during this time. It took me a couple of weeks actually to figure out how things are going on or to manage myself or my thoughts. But soon I realized that maybe it's time to go back to my teaching passion. Then that's how I started right away to do mentorship for Founder Institute programs in 4 countries. I became a mentor. And this new life as a mentor for me a couple of months ago, it opened other doors. And that's how I got to know other mentors who then became good friends of mine and who helped me in developing the new ideas that I came across. But the time was passing on. I had very, very limited resources here. The clock was ticking, and I was telling myself that I cannot continue my life like this. I had to come up with something. And thinking about my situation, a number of other people who, like me, left their countries, an idea came to me, and it was Entrepreneur on the Go. By Entrepreneur on the Go, I was considering the situation of myself. An established entrepreneur who is leaving everything behind and is supposed to start everything from scratch. So you can imagine the difficulty of doing that, building network, accessing resources, and also find the right opportunities. That's how with Entrepreneur on the Go, we offer the entrepreneurs with a tribe, a big community to connect, number of tools and resources, and then the opportunities that they can find in specific countries. As I started, the karma did its work, and we started to attract people from different countries who wanted to be part of this movement. Right now, we have a chapter in France, another in Germany, and another in the UK, and we're very, very close to the launch of the new platform, though I'm still in the refugee camp and I couldn't have any chance to go outside. The second thing I could do was a complete rebranding of our business in Afghanistan. I kept our employees, and right now we want to work with impact-driven companies to help them with impact measurement and also impact communication through storytelling. The third thing that we're about to launch is a network of data collectors and researchers in Afghanistan that we want to use for a research platform with another co-founder in the UK. So as you can see, there were lack of resources during the last couple of months, but it gave me the opportunity to think about my soul, my body, my needs, and I did go through my background and I saw what I can do at this situation, and this is what I did. So think about yourself. What are those resources that today you have and you think it might be good to have it in the future? And what stops you from doing big things? So maybe it's not very far, maybe today it's your time. So let's not get stuck with the lack of resources and think big.